Well, previously we've been looking at this design and we've been trying to work out why the file size was as large as it is. We went click file size and it's nearly 2.5 megabytes. We actually started with this drawing with a file size of 8 megabytes and we're steadily reducing it by finding drafting errors where things have been done in a complex way and could have been done much simpler, and we've been steadily reducing the file size, so we're down a long way and improve things. The major problem we found in the design, and we can focus on it here, was that paving around the dwelling, here's the house here, was originally set with a hatch pattern, but at some stage of the design, and it may well be by an accident, those hatch patterns have been exploded and in this case left lots and lots of polyline rectangles that represent what was the paving pattern. So how to fix that and what to do about it. If I zoom a little further out and we move up, you may be able to see that there's another plan of the house here, and if I go to house paving and turn that layer on, exactly the same set of paving, so the original part, the top part of the design's been copied down, and so we have the paving around it. What I've done is to redo the paving and do it all by a series of hatches within that zone. So if I say edit the block and I click in here, you can see that area has now been hatched with a hatch pattern. We get exactly the same result, and a polyline was drawn in around each zone and then hatched. If we select it here, you can see that the pattern name is just a simple line, and we looked at the angle of one of those rectangles there and it was 17.5 in that instance, and over here our angle's still 17.5, and here an angle of 326, so we're just changing the angle of the hatching. So let's close that block editor, and you may have noticed that if I select it, we've put a base point of that block, so I've made a block to find the base point to be the angle of the house here, and I think you should be able to see that we now have a block which is called house paving area, and if we come back to the top part of the design, it's now, we need to turn off that house paving layer again, and we come back to where we were originally, and here's our rectangles, and it's on a, if we escape from there, if we click one of those, it's on a layer called paving. So what I'm hoping to do now is to isolate the paving layer, not house paving, and we should be able to relatively easily remove all of these, and we're hoping to see that the file size comes down from 2.5 megabytes. So I'll move on and tackle that next. We'll use the tool that uses a switch, and we can come down here to isolate layer, and that will pop up this little window, and we can choose that paving layer. And we'll say, okay, so we think we've got a whole lot of things on that paving layer that we want to remove. So if I zoom in here now, this may become tricky, but I'll use a crossing window and see how we go. What happens if I do that? That's easy, isn't it? And come through here. Might might even be bolder. You just do need to watch, and occasionally you'll pick up structures in that arrays that we don't want to remove. So I hold the shift key down and I'll do that, and just hit I find it easy to use the delete key for some of this, but still being careful. So what we're doing is removing a whole lot of polylines, and removal is starting to get easier and easier. This one's a little tricky, but I can put that around there, and again hold my shift key down and put that one back, or remove it from the selection set, and we might get away with a big area like that. Again, double checking, I think that's fine, and delete, and we've got a little bit down here, and some more paving in this one. Right, so now not sure what that one is, but we'll leave that just for the moment. So the aim of this is to remove all of those literally hundreds of individual polylines that were used in the paving. So now we can come back to this tool, and I've got a layer states manager being used, so I've called it as delivered. We're just trying to help our user and restore things there, and everything comes back. It's a beautiful piece of design work. I do like the use, or the creation rather, of elevations in the design. So I'll zoom previous to get back to where we were. And we're now interested in saving and coming back to file and file size. And we've gone down from 2.5 megabytes, we're now down to 1.7 megabytes. So a big improvement. And in this case, I do need to turn on the house paving, and now if we click here, there's our block which we just copied from that zone down below. So what was represented by literally thousands in fact of individual rectangles has now been remedied to just one block has done the job. So this drawing now will load much more quickly, and we can move around in it without any lag at all. There still may be other areas where we can improve the performance by further reducing the file size. My view would be that we ought to be aiming, we should keep most of your designs, I think, to about a megabyte in size if you possibly can. So if we go to main layout now, we've been doing all of this work in model space. If we go to main layout, there we are, we're back, and it's going to present very nicely indeed. So I hope that helps. Just an important thing to keep looking at your file size. There's a shortcut. Just type FS for file size and hit the enter key. That pops up the same box. It's not an appropriate time, I think, to talk about it, but I think there would be an alternative way of doing this sort of work. Most of this area down through here, I think, could be removed and just use the system in GCAD Plus to turn on and off groups of layers in the layout zones. So you can have a whole lot of tabs across here rather than just main layout, we've got elevation there, layout 1 and so on. Just add extra layouts and control within individual layouts the collection of layers that you want to display, because everything down in this area here is in a sense repetition, and we could further reduce the file size by attending to that. But there are plenty of movies on how to control visibility of layer sets within layout tabs.